rookies prove themselves worthy of the top 4 in the EU LCS. A double kill from Perch! This guy is a madman! He can do it! Oh, Memento! You beautiful man! Guess the quadra! Gotta be a Paisa for coming!
It's time to find out who will rise. This is the EU LCS.
Bienvenidos a Madrid, señoras y señores, para las finales LCS Europea. We are gearing up for a weekend packed with action in the Palacio Vista Alegre as Vitality and Misfits Gaming kick things off in tonight's third place decider. I'm Evie Shock supporter, joined by the Spanish crowd, Andrew Verius Day, Jonas Colt Anderson, and G2's owner and Spanish legenda, Carlos Ocelot Rodriguez. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great already in this arena. We're still filling up, and I can just feel the energy. Spain is always a pleasure to come to.
Spanish fan base, man. The people here.
It is. I do want to point out, just to give Ocelot some credit, he may not be fantastic on the Rift anymore, but the moment he stepped on stage, there was a chant that erupted from the crowd going, "Oh, Ocelot." I thought that was
brought
really
a tear into my eye, I gotta say.
They absolutely love
I
you.
remember.
They do remember.
Then you know you made it.
That they do. Well, we're going to be relying on you for a ready check as well as the rest of my guests. So let's go down how we exactly got here. It's been a very long road to Madrid, and last week we had some epic battles in the semifinals. Fnatic and Schalke in the end came out on top. Fnatic in that battle versus Misfits, which was pretty close, I have to say.
Yes, it was surprisingly competitive. Many expected Fnatic to be the clear-cut favorites, but we were very close to coming to a Game 5 if it wasn't for Caps and his fantastic performance on the Vayne and on the LeBlanc.
Definitely. I think on the other side, the other semi-final was not so competitive. Honestly, I think Schalke had really figured Vitality out in the game, and that really showed, in my opinion.
Yeah, Carlos, what do you think of our finalists, Fnatic and Schalke?
Well, Caps is just way above, in my opinion, everybody else right now, and it just shows, and it keeps showing every game. That game with LeBlanc was, I think, the game I've seen somebody carry the most in recent times.
Yeah, what about Schalke, a new finalist once again in Europe?
Well, I just feel great for Amazing. The guy must bring something to the table that you know, we can't really see, right? And as per Vitality and Misfits, you know, this is just you know, it's people with a lot of energy and really willing to show what they're capable of. So I can't wait.
And I think that both teams showed a lot of core stuff in their semifinals, and it kind of sets up nicely for today's third-place match, where there is a bit of a grudge match between the two teams, a lot of matchups that we're very excited about, and I think it's going to be a fantastic weekend of games.
That it will be. We have to keep in mind that it's about a couple of things here this weekend. It's about winning on this awesome stage. It's about lifting the cup tomorrow for Fnatic and Schalke, but it is also about qualification for Worlds. There are a lot of implications, possible implications, which we will go over in detail in just a bit. But the TLDR is you have to try and win here to keep your chances alive. Vitality can still get second seed. Misfits want some momentum going into the regional qualifier, so there's a lot more at stake than meets the eye at first glance.
And in the end, for both of these teams, it is the World Championship that matters, because we know from the start, Misfits said this year we need to go to Worlds. Vitality, on the other hand, a bit of an underdog, but still, if you reach Worlds, this just means so much for them.
They're so close as well. Like, they win this game, they are in Worlds.
We'll be tracking all of that, so important this weekend, but as we prepare for 2 days filled with great moments from Madrid, we do also want to look back at last time the EU LCS came to this city. It was in spring 2015. The crowd was also electric, and we had a Unicorns of Love versus Fnatic final, which was pretty epic if I remember correctly.
It certainly was. There's also a couple of familiar faces in there, and some of them that we'll get to see once again this weekend. Hylissang and Vizicachi, both finalists in this weekend, and Kikis made it to, this was one of his first finals, I believe, on debuting with the LCS. He's achieved quite a lot over his history.
How many finals was Kikis?
Well, he won 2 with G2,
I believe he won 1 with G2.
He won with G2.
Yeah,
he played one with Unicorns of Love, and let's track it. A lot.
I want to stress that they actually lost back then, so they must have left with a bit of a bittersweet taste in their mouth, and I think they really want to come back and redeem themselves this weekend.
That they will. Chachi and Hylissang both playing tomorrow. I also want to call back to kind of that year of 2015. That was the Fnatic with Huni and Reignover winning their first title. They would go on to win a second, and a lot has changed since then. It was a very successful year in terms of World Championship. OG and Fnatic made it to the semi-final of Worlds, but after that, the G2 Nation attacked, and it was all G2 from there, Carlos.
I remember here watching exactly at this place, watching Fnatic versus Unicorns of Love, and by then it was still called Gamers 2. Sorry for reminding everybody of the name, and things didn't go as well, you know. But watching this, you know, really inspired all of us, and then we came into the LCS, and the rest is history.
And you think of all of the amazing Spanish players that we've had over the years too. Expeke is one that many household names will know. Ocelot is another one. Who can think back to
RNA.
SK, but RNA is another one.
Mithy.
And then Mithy too. The fact that he achieved so much on G2. He's now playing over with TSM. We have seen a lot of very impressive names coming out from the
That we
Spanish
have.
scene.
And there, who is that? What a throwback. SK Gaming with Ocelot. For newer viewers, Ocelot was, of course, a superstar mid laner of SK Gaming.
And
Known
sa-
for his scarves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and sadly, many of these legends are not playing anymore. But we actually still have Spain representing in the EUSS in Samuxon on UOL. So
he's
even
a
though
beast as well.
he is, I agree.
And an LVP as well. Mad
Yeah,
Lions.
LVP are considered one of the strongest European regions right now in terms of the domestic league, especially coming into the EU Masters. And the fact that we did see Mad Lions win with RNA as their coach last week.
By the way, those semifinals were
Great.
really high.
Very high.
They
It was a
were.
really good set of series. So props to them. We get to see them play soon.
Exactly what I just tried to get at is that there is so much League of Legends history in Spain and in Madrid, so I'm very happy that we get to come back here.
So much passion for the game.
A
That's
lot
what I
of
love
passion.
the most.
You can feel it, right?
You can feel it so much.
It's in the blood of the Spanish people, but we'll have to track a lot more throughout the next 2 days. We will see the best players in Europe battling it out on the big stage. And here we want to look at some key duels for the finals weekend. We're going to start with Hansama versus Attila, who will be setting up later in this third place match of Vitality versus Misfits. Two very different, I think, AD carries from character, but maybe not necessarily on the Rift.
On the Rift, I think they're very similar. They play kind of the same style. They like to be very aggressive in the laning phase, and a lot of time draft for very strong laning phase. We see them both play the Draven, so they like to go forward and play aggressive.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
In terms of personality, Attila is very confident. He loves everyone to know how good he is as a player. And Hansam is quite the opposite. He's quite timid, he's quite patient, but you do not see that when you look at his play on the Rift.
Yeah.
You remember the third game with from Hansama and Draven against us?
Oh, yes.
Brings me nightmares.
Absolutely crazy. Attila, of course, is Portuguese, but he played in Spain with Giants, had a lot of success here, and quite considered this a second home crowd for himself. So he will definitely be fired up. I would like to move on to a couple of key matchups for tomorrow for the final. One of those is in the mid lane between Caps and Yukadak. Since we have Ocelot here, who used to be a great mid laner, is still a great mid laner, sorry.
In our hearts.
No, let's be honest. I used to.
What do you think about this generation of mids and the new generation in Caps?
Well, first of all, Nukeduck has always been incredibly good and keeps being incredibly good, super solid. And then there's people like Perks, like Caps, which are, you know, it's just not written anywhere. They just play with their instincts, and they are typically right. They do things that you can't expect. And I expect the same thing to happen actually tomorrow from Caps.
And that's why for me this matchup is so exciting, because we have two different players. We have Nukeduck known for the intelligence, and Caps just does the most unexpected plays all the time, and that's what we love him for. So it should be very exciting tomorrow.
Yeah, super. I think for Caps, it is now his second final. He played in Copenhagen. He's back. Nukeduck, it's been a while since he's been here. How do we think it's going to play out? In essence, is Caps just going to straight up beat him, or is Nukeduck maybe the only one that can put something against him?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult for Caps to just roll over Nukeduck. He is a very experienced player that understands his limitations, but at the same time, I think when you look at carry potential, Caps is definitely the favored in that matchup. So if Caps can be put into a situation where he is able to carry, he's definitely the one I'll keep my eyes on.
I think if the players have shown us anything so far is that it's so mid-focused, and it's not only about them, it's about how they are being enabled by their teammates, the jungle and support, so that's what I'm looking out for.
I'll put my head on fire and say that Nukeduck simply can't lose a lane. He really is that consistent.
Wow. Okay, we will track that tomorrow. That's a big one, and it would help them a lot in Schalke. The other matchup we need to talk about in the final, Reckless versus Upset, that Fnatic legendary AD carry superstar against the new Prodigy, Upset, and possibly time for a changing of the guard.
You know, I love this matchup largely because at the beginning of the year, it was Reckless who said, after Sven's departure, I need a new rival, and I think Upset could be it. Now they meet in the final at long last. Everybody is praising how talented Upset is, and when it comes to these late game team fights, which we know it will tomorrow, it's going to be exciting to see who comes out on top.
Talking about damage done per minute, you can clearly see that Upset auto-attacks a lot, which is like generally a good thing.
For an AD carry, that is a good thing.
And what I want to stress is if we look at the semifinals and we purely look on game impact, I think Upset had way more impact in their victories than Reckless had. I think Reckless honestly got carried by Caps in some of the games. So I think Upset right now has the ability to have more impact, but we will just see tomorrow.
Yeah, he also has that role on Schalke. He has been the guy in playoffs that even though his laning phase, it's not like he's stomping anyone in lane, but in the team fights, they are counting on him to get there. And that's why tomorrow, maybe it's Caps versus Upset and anything else.
It could very well be. That's why tomorrow's final is going to be an exciting one. It could be Fnatic securing their 7th title, or it could be a new title holder in EULC.
Well, that brings us nicely to that main event tomorrow. Let's preview it as the reigning champions Fnatic will face off against Schalke in the EULCS Summer Final. There we go, we're already getting a little preview of the teams and of the cup, the trophy. Will it be the most successful team in EULCS history, Fnatic, or the newcomer Schalke, who tomorrow gets to lift that? Schalke is in the playoffs for the very first time, and it is really nicely, very impressive, I would want to say. I want to look for a stronger word. What they've done this year, coming into the spring split, not making playoffs, and then making it happen in summer.
Exactly that, because when you look at the history of Schalke, it's been a bit disappointing. You know, they set very high expectations, they fade multiple times, they even dropped down to the Challenger Series, but with a single change, by bringing in Amazing in the summer split, he revitalized this team and has now brought them to the finals.
And what I want to point out is he really brings stability to the team, leadership to the team, and then we see some of the star players like Nuktok and Upset really shine, and I think that's what Amazing really brought to this team.
And it's crazy also, it's always interesting to see those players who have been successful at one point in time, who kind of go down and need to find their form and then come back. To me, that is always incredibly impressive.
100%. Not only that, it's people that are not necessarily known for their mechanics, which means that they need to have something else that really differentiates them and makes them special. Mitty is another great example. He's just incredible, and he, doesn't have that kind of
What's
credit.
crazy to me is the fact that it's not more than a couple of months ago he was standing next to us here on the analyst desk, and just that transformation is insane to me.
He also spoke out on the fact that, whenever he doesn't want to do that, he felt like there was still some fight in him, and maybe we went like, yeah, we'll see. He proved it to everyone, and he can be the first player in history to win both NALCS and EULCS titles.
Who would have thought it was going to be him, huh?
Yeah,
There's still hope. There's still hope for some of the older
that,
players like myself, so.
we will see. Well, Project Schalke is already a success, but they can top everything by winning tomorrow. And then Fnatic is looking for really the cherry on top of the cake. I think to say we didn't just win in Copenhagen, it wasn't a fluke. We are here to stay. They are, of course, already locked into Worlds.
Yes, they are kind of the fan favorites. Many expect them to get a pretty easy final tomorrow, based on what I've heard. I think it'll be a little bit more competitive, but the fact is, when you look at the performance of Caps and how Fnatic have looked over the last few weeks, they are looking like they're going to get themselves their 7th title.
It actually reminds me of the first year of G2 when Perks was just going off, and it just doesn't matter what he was going to pick. You knew he was going to go off.
Yeah, Caps is the same. Just Vayne last week, Wukong on first in the split. We're looking forward to that. For now, though, moving on to a bit of fan favorites, because over the last week, we have given out Coach of the Split. We named our All-Pro team, but you guys at home, you fans, voted for your favorites in the EU LCS Awards. They are brand new. That is great. I feel like I'm at the Oscars. I've always wanted to be here, so let's get into it. Let's check out our winners, starting with a very honorable category, Best Meme of the Split. So let's go over the nominees. Today, they were nominees last couple of weeks. They were the Fischio's Year of the Duck, the fact that he was trying to push.
He always talked about it, non-stop.
The Schalke Hype Train. We also had G2's epic tweet about Reckless.
That was a good one.
Yep.
Saying
Long day in the office, people. Long day in the office.
When he was in the pool. We also had two things from Mike Check. Jankos asking his team repeatedly, what is the secret? What is the secret? We never found out, and apparently it's also not in Madrid, but
Oh my goodness. You did not need to do that, by the way. You did not need to repeat.
I need to did it once.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll take it. I'll take it.
And then finally, Misfits also giving Alfari a really hard time in the mic check, saying top to bot, top to bot, top to bot. Alfari was super annoyed. All right, it is time to announce our winners of Meme of the Split. Year of the the drum roll is too loud, but the drum.
That is the worst drum sound. I'll be absolutely
Yeah, you
honest.
can do the next one. So, any case, Year of the Duck wins.
Congratulations.
Is it really a meme? He's in the final.
It could become real. Deficio is pretty proud of himself that he won something for a change.
Just self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it could
Kinda
very
felt-
well be.
Maybe. Next award is for the biggest game changer of the split. This can be a big moment in-game, a play, a mechanical outplay, or a player itself. Let's take a look at the nominees. First up, Vizichachi's Poppy Ultimate versus H2K. You guys remember he threw 3 or 4 people away from the Elder Dragon and they won the game.
Dirty,
off that?
dirty play.
Dirty stuff. Then Mickey X, Rock on Flank versus G2
I don't like this one.
Sports. You don't like this one? Mickey X, who's been actually great the whole split.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kasing saving Kobe against Rock
The
on
save.
Hinge.
He branded his own move.
And we said, oh, we've never seen that before. Maybe we haven't. It was sick. And then Vitality's White Knight kick is in terms of a game changer. He is more the player that turned their split around.
Team changer.
Team
Yes.
changer, indeed. 4 formidable candidates, but the winner is, do you want to do the honors? Vitality's Kikis as a game changer. You fans at home voted for him being the most important in that, and I think we can agree.
Yeah, the dude took the team from 5-5 to 11-1 in the second half of the split. They finished second during the regular season after some hard-fought tiebreakers. And while they weren't able to have the best performance in the semi-final, the reality is they should still be proud. The fact that Kikis just comes in and finds fantastic synergy with this Vitality squad.
I wonder whether Kikis did not have other replays than those where he was
Versus
just crashing on G2.
No, he didn't.
I think those are the only ones.
He was empowered to beat D2 after, you know,
We
everything.
need an award for the worst drum sound, by the way.
The worst drum sound. Tomorrow. For now, though, over to perhaps the most prestigious awards that you guys voted for, the fan favorite of the split. We had 10 nominees, 1 from each team, but in the end, it was Fnatic's superstar, the man behind the famous Vayne mid lane pick that came out on top.
Actually, I think they'll blind TF, by the way.
They can even go TF against it, but they have
No,
Sivir,
TF
so...
is not so good against the comp right now.
Yeah. Oh, Galio? Oh my Jesus. Dylan. Oh my Jesus. Dylan, we have to go Vayne.
No, we have to go Corki.
No, Olaf Galio. Alisa, we're going Vayne, by the way.
Are you serious?
It's Trundle Vayne.
Shouldn't we just go Corki?
But are you serious? Is it gonna win us the game?
Of course.
Like, look, there's gonna
I'm
be a
just saying
sign
that-
with a million armor.
But he will die to my W instant. I'm saying,
I
think
trust
we
you,
should go
Caps.
Vayne.
If you
I
wanna
think-
go Vayne,
I really
just
think
go
we should
Vayne.
just log in Vayne. Galio, are you in range?
Yeah,
Don't
I'm
be
in
gone,
range.
I go for Vayne. Look, Vayne!
I think we might do it.
I'm here.
We win.
Oh, stop me!
Holy Caps, I saw that. That was really sick.
Holy fuckers!
I'm blocking, we win. You kill him, I think, and I kill this. Yeah, nice, guys.
Oh, this crazy. What do you say, Dylan? What do you say? You think you're funny or what? You think you're funny?
Well, the fans think he's the fan favorite. I think we can agree. He's great on the Rift and he's freaking funny in mic check.
I mean, whenever you run into this guy, he's just this goofy little guy, always with a grin on his face. I mean, it's so hard not to love him, honestly.
yeah, that is true. I love that he also, in team dynamics-wise, see that, Dylan, to his coach. I mean, I maybe wouldn't be too happy with that.
He's definitely the alpha in that. Village.
He was the alpha.
Cold, you were also in the running.
Yeah?
Yes.
I mean, so I don't... honestly, I can't believe that no one actually voted for me.
I voted for you.
I voted.
Yeah,
I gotta say I
and
voted
also
for him.
voted for you.
so you got 1.7% of the vote.
Better than 1.6%.
That's
That is
way
very true.
better,
That is
so
very
much
true.
better.
third worst, but also 7th best.
7th, I will take
I like
7th.
that.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Good job,
All right.
man.
Yeah.
Good
Proud
job.
of you.
All right, moving on, one other thing. Since he played more than 3 games in spring, Bwipo wasn't eligible as a Rookie of the Summer split. However, we as a broadcast would like to give him the Most Outstanding Rookie award. Yeah, it was a bit difficult for him because he came in and he actually didn't play that many games.
Yeah, unfortunately for Bwipo, he was in a situation where he didn't quite qualify for a Rookie last split, and then because he played MSI and because he played so many games this split, he also couldn't be considered a rookie, but given his fantastic performance and what he achieved after spending such a little amount of time on Fnatic, we felt like he deserved something, so we created an award just for him, giving him the Most Outstanding Rookie Award.
Yeah, congratulations, Bippo. Well deserved.
I mean, what a player he has been, honestly. Coming in out of nowhere, honestly, and just show so much maturity on and off the Rift. And not only playing one role, but actually playing two roles, I think, so impressive to me.
And if you're a fan, you're a League of Legends player just starting off, the first thing you see is somebody that came out of solo queue and, took the reckless spot. There's nothing more inspirational than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Bwipo, he took life by the momentum and rose up and was fantastic. For now, though, let's zone in and look ahead towards tonight's action. We are 9.5 minutes away for Vitality and Misfits facing off in the third place decider. First up, very good matchup, I would say, stylistically, a very interesting one, and two teams that have to do it now. They have to step up.
Yeah, because there is a lot on the line. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Both of them are fighting for a better chance of making it to Worlds. And when you kind of look at how they compete stylistically, it is very close. They both love early game aggression. They both like having strong bot lanes, and it's really impressive what they can do.
Yeah, we'll also look at how exactly the implications are for both teams for Worlds. When we look at the championship points, Fnatic is already locked in Worlds. They can get first seed if they win tomorrow. And if they lose, they also have second seed. Misfits, however, doesn't have enough points, so is locked in the regional qualifier no matter what. However, if they win versus Vitality today, they can move up a round and only have to play 2 best-of-5s in the regional qualifier.
Exactly that. They could avoid playing against Spice. They could go straight into round 2. That would also lock G2 into round 3. So Ocelot,
which is the most important.
Yeah, that would make Ocelot very happy, but obviously there are also even more implications in that shot.
Definitely so. So Vitality on stage today. They are still in the running for second seed to go to Worlds. They have to win today, and then they have to depend on Fnatic beating Schalke tomorrow. In that case, Vitality goes to Worlds as our second seed. However, if Vitality lose today, it means that Schalke is going to Worlds. Then Fnatic is locked in and Schalke is locked in as so Europe's first and second seeds respectively. So there's a lot on the line also for Schalke, who are currently training. They're probably watching this very attentively.
We need that Twitch chat copy-paste thing of the Dorito. Bring all the energy to Misfits. If you're a G2 fan, you want Misfits to win, because then we're directly the final boss of the count.
And Schalke also wants Misfits to win. We will keep track of that. Vitality, as said, a lot on the line for them. If we look at their 2018, they have had a big road behind them. They came in 2018 with 3 rookies and experienced talent, as well as Yamato as their coach, and they honestly grew steadily throughout the year.
Expectations were pretty low for this team coming into the spring split, given that they did have a lot of young, unknown talent. But they performed. They finished at extremely well. They ended at 4th place. They weren't quite able to find that 3rd place spot, but they were very competitive, and a lot of respect was shown towards this squad.
We're a very scary team.
I agree, and I think if you look at a team built around 3 rookies, and you tell me that at the end of the year you are so close at reaching Worlds, I think that's just a success story in itself. So a lot of props to the whole staff and the whole organization of Vitality to actually be successful in the split.
But they have to win here today to keep their chances on second seed most alive, also dependent on Fnatic win. And I think making your position better from in Springset for EU LCS, where they went to the 3rd place match, they had a lot of hype and they did not perform at all. For morale boost, it is important also that they win here today and show that they can do better. But for that, they will have to beat Misfits. Now, Misfits are looking to repeat their successes from 2017. If we recall back to that year, it was incredibly successful. The 1-year plan for Misfits panned out. They started by being 4th in the spring split, and it only went up from there.
It certainly did. They then made it to their finals in Paris last year of summer. They knocked out TSM in the group stages of Worlds. They took SKT to all 5 games, and you kind of look at this plan and you go, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. They put a plan in place and they panned it out, but their 2018 did not go the same way.
No, a huge disappointment, I think, so far from Misfits, but that is the beauty of the end of the season. They can turn it all around, Carlos. If they win here today, if they go to Worlds, it is all succeeded for Misfits, but they have to step up right now.
100%. Now is the moment. It's do or die. It's crunch time, and now is when these rookie players, you're gonna see whether you have the winners there, or you have kind of those that in pressure moments, don't deliver.
Yeah, you got to step up to the plate.
And when they went into this year, they wanted a more flexible roster. And I think even though we have seen glimpses of it, we saw in the start of the split, Senku's playing more aggressive champs like Aurelia and LeBlanc and such. And I think if you want to compete at the highest level, you need to be able to play this in a playoff setting, and we haven't seen that.
And
so that's what I'm looking for.
This is the biggest stage that they can play on. We are only 5 minutes away, so let's take a look at some key matchups. And I want to retake that 80 carry matchup we talked about earlier, Attila versus Hans Sama. The fact that there are two players, and I think Attila, who came into 2018, everyone was talking about upset, about Sheriff, but it was Attila that dictated most of the 80 carries in spring.
And while Attila and Vitality lost in the semifinal, they actually were winning the bot lane 3 out of 4 games.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to stress out. And I think it will be so crucial how the draft goes for these two guys because they play so heavily around winning their lanes.
And Hans Sama is also the big carry on Misfits. And we see when he dies often in those games, there isn't much that Misfits can fall back on.
Yeah,
Huge on their shoulders.
I feel like he's one of the singular win conditions that Misfits have. They prove they can't really play around their top side when he's on a carry. So it's pretty much all about Hans Sama and whether or not he can find leads in the early game.
And then we'll also see what the junglers do. That is the second matchup we want to look at. Kikis versus Maxlor. As said already, Kikis, he's back again at the top of EU LCS. No one knows how he does it, but he has been instrumental in Vitality's resurgence up versus Maxlor.
And the reason why this matchup is so important is because of their mid laners, because they play a more supportive style and support their junglers. So a lot of eyes on the junglers and what kind of counter picks they have and aggressive picks they can snowball the game with, because I think that will be what really decides the game.
I feel like that both junglers are big carry junglers too. We know that champions like Kindred are going to be extremely contested in this series. When we know that both of them like to build their own leads and be that big carry. So I'm excited to see who can find those leads and who can run away with it.
Yeah, even in the semifinal, Maxlor had a huge damage percentage. He was actually picking up a lot of the slack when it came to dealing the damage. So up versus Kickers should be an amazing matchup. So let's break it down to the keys of victory. Starting with Vitality. Cold, how does Vitality win here today?
I mean, we just said it, that you need to be able to pick these aggressive junglers. In that one victory in the semifinal, it was because of Kikis. He was playing the Kindred and playing aggressive, and he was enabled by his mid laner Jisuke. So I think that's going to be crucial. And then obviously shutting down Misfits bot lane. I mean, you need to do something about it, because else they will just run away with the game.
The last time that they met, it was just a hard camp bot lane start for Vitality, and they just steamrolled over Misfits. So if they can replicate that, it's an easy way to find a couple wins.
Yeah, the crowd is getting in the mood. They have their lights on. Then let's talk about Misfits. Misfits, how do they win it here? How do they gain momentum going into the gauntlet and, well, get a success for their squad in front of this awesome crowd?
Well, they're kind of the opposite of Vitality, because they want to play through their bot lane, given that Hans Sama and Mickey very often rely on getting an early snowball advantage. So I feel like that is going to be one of the big avenues with which Misfits find wins.
And on the other hand, I think you need to control Jisuke. We saw in the semifinal that he was constantly roaming and giving leads to his teammates. And I think when you don't have as strong as a mid lane as he was facing in the semifinal, it's going to be crucial for them to be able to shut down Jisuke when he's roaming.
What for you is the most important matchup, Carlos, today?
Jisuke for me is the key. So jungle mid matchups and how they synergize this best of 5 is going to be key.
It is going to be key. Incredibly, incredibly important. We are getting very close to the opening ceremony. So let's take a look at those predictions. Our analysts talked about the players. They talked about the strengths and weaknesses, but who do they actually see winning? I think we need another drum roll because we don't see them yet. I'll start. I voted for Vitality. We'll see it in a second. Now, I think it's very close, and Misfits, to me, played phenomenally in Fnatic and against Fnatic, and maybe doesn't get enough credit for that. But the only way I can beat Vedius in Superior Analyst race is by picking Vitality. So I did it for the predictions. Oh my God.
Well, you're going to have to believe Shocks, because but it's going to be a difficult fight, because you look back at their semi-final, Misfits had a very competitive series against Fnatic. I feel like it should have gone to all the way to Game 5, and I think that based on how they're currently playing, they look like the clear favorites, 3-0 for me.
So I think it's going to be a very close series, but I actually think Vitality will come out ahead, because I feel like there's more on the line for them, and they're more hungry to prove themselves today. And then when Vitality is successful, it's when they play against a team that doesn't play well around mid lane. And I think if there's one team that doesn't do that well, it's Misfits. So
both great points. So we're going to need Carlos to tell us it is a Misfits vote.
I believe it's a Misfits 3-1. I'm not the perfect kind of analyst for League of Legends nowadays, but I know enough to be able to say that I think the bot lane is going to be a big difference. And the only problem is maybe actually around the mid lane with Jisuke. As long as he doesn't get too much ahead and roams too much and creates too much hassle.
And we're really hoping that either of these mid laner maybe show a more carry-oriented style, because it doesn't always just work to just go the supportive style that we have seen. So I want to see the two mid laners really show up today and and actually be a carry.
Yeah, it is up to both teams, up to all 10 players to step on the stage with momentum for Misfits to finally start turning their season around. This is their last chances. They are starting right now. For Vitality, again, if they win today and Fnatic wins tomorrow, they find themselves in Worlds. It is time to kick off finals weekend here in the Palacio Vista Alegre. Vitality and Misfits face off in the third place match.
For Handsummer. Can he get it? Is he gonna get one more first blood? Look at this guy! A few more style points. This is a Draven unleashed upon G2.
I always learn from losses, and I just want to win everything.
For our sake, for our confidence, and for our redemption, we just want to win.
And there's the hammer shot. Gets him with the shield. The Captain America finish. Double kill for Attila. That's a triple kill. He's looking for more.
Every time I'm on the stage, everything that I say, everything that I do is because I really want to win it.
We're going to try everything in our power to make it to Worlds, otherwise this was just a wasted year for all of us.